Good morning, lovely friends. How are you all today? I hope you're well. Well, it's going to be a gorgeous day today, but I have to say, on my way to the garden this morning, I've actually managed to get here semi-decent time today at 8:30. There was a real edge to the air this morning. A real bit of like, ooh. So I've come down in my hoodie, and it was really nice to have that feeling of being cosy in my hoodie again. It's really quite fresh and freshening. It is going to get warmer later on though. We are having the most beautiful September so far. So many beautiful warm sunny days. This sky all of this week, not just this week, the last sort of 10 days or so, it's just been the most beautiful blue. It's definitely changing though, you know. Just walking through the park this morning, the sun is so much lower. So even though it's sort of 8:30 as I was walking through the park, the sun is still barely up. And at the angle it's at, coming through the trees, it's sort of constantly changing from the brightness of the sun right into my eyes, and then shade from the leaves, and it's flicking between the two so quickly. It's like having diamonds scattered on my eyelids. It's amazing, absolutely beautiful. What a gorgeous time of year. It's definitely the time of year to make the most of these days, because they're not going to be around for much longer. I don't think. We'll see. Anyway, so yeah, what could be more perfect on a day like today than to get stuck in to the garden? So on my last visit, when was it? When I was doing my onions, I made a few notes of things that need attention, things I don't want to forget. The main one was, I don't know what prompted it, whether it was my walk around the garden or something I saw later on a Facebook status from someone else. But I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, and I do this every year. Because I've been doing quite small picks of tomatoes, sort of daily picks, because I wasn't sure if I was going to get the B word or not. I've been picking and processing, and I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, Vivi, you need to set a few aside for seed saving, you numpty. I know what prompted this. It was the other day when I did my first pepper. So today, pardon me, I'm going to go into bed number 1, the vining bed, and make some selections for seed saving of tomatoes, peppers and cucumbers. The Hungarian, the paprika peppers, they're not ready yet. My orange bell are, as are my red du long de Londe French peppers that you saw me harvesting a few days ago. So that is going to be my main focus in the garden this morning. And then later on when I get back home, I'll just do a very quick recap of how I save my seed from those 3 things. It's dead simple, fermentation method, etc, etc. I have done a video where I explain it in much more length and come back to it a few days later, because it does take sort of 3 or 4 days to do it from start to end. So I'll just link that video if I remember to, if I can work out how. I'm so rubbish with these things still. Okay, yeah, I think without further ado, let's get out into the garden and let's go picking for seed saving. Just before I go and get my cucumber for seed saving, I've just had off the rest of the cucumbers from the plants, because they're all, well, they're on the verge of going over. Now these are pretty big and probably a bit tough and gnarly for eating raw. Well, at least for eating raw in a salad. Now, I don't like pickles. I'm sure I've mentioned that before. So I was thinking what to do with them, because really pickling, that's probably the only way. But what I'm going to do with these this year is, I mean, look, they are whoppers. I'm just going to roughly chop them up, and I'm going to freeze them. Now, I know that might seem bonkers because they have such a high water content. They are going to be mush when I take them out of the freezer. But what I was thinking is just use them for my morning smoothie. So I always add some sort of liquid content to my smoothie. So I mostly do sort of half oats, half frozen summer berries, for example, and some beetroot leaves or some chard, that sort of thing. But I always add a little bit of water. I quite like carrot juice in it. So I just thought, well, why don't I use these? I'll chop them with their skins on as well, because obviously you always get a bit of nutrition in the skin. And then when I'm having my smoothies, I'll just chuck a handful in. The texture won't matter because it's all going to be blitzed down anyway. And so I'm going to have my water content provided by my cukes, a little bit of extra taste and some extra nutrition. I don't know if it's going to work. It may be absolutely rank. But yeah, it's worth having a go, isn't it? So they're the last of the ones to harvest for eating. But now let's go and sort out the one that's harvesting for seed saving. Gosh, see what I mean about the sunshine? It's right in my eye line. It's beautiful. It just means I can't see a thing. Okay, so this is the cucumber I've selected for seed saving. It's quite a whopper now. I didn't save it because it's a whopper, so I should just say that as the season progresses, you know, way back even into sort of the end of July, with all the plants, I'm keeping an eye on them to think about which one is going to be my one for seed saving or my ones for seed saving. So I'm generally looking for the plant that, you know, it comes from a plant that's been prolific, that's been really healthy and strong and robust all season, that sort of thing. With the cukes, I selected this one because it was a great shape. So this is something I'm learning now about pollination. So I know it's had good pollination, regular pollination. It's had everything it needs to be the perfect fruit, as it were, as opposed to some of the others, like the one you saw me chopping up to eat on the day I had my Greek salad in the shed, really odd shape. This plant that it's on did particularly well. Lots of really good fruits. It was also one of the earliest to produce fruits, so I'm thinking, oh, that's good. Some of them, like that, and they took forever to come to anything. So all of those little things, little checklist, it sort of tells me it's a good plant, so it's going to be a good one to save seeds from. And oh, I've got a couple. Shall I show you? Oh, I'm tempted to leave this a little bit longer. No, we'll have it today. For seed saving, basically we're trying to replicate nature, and in nature what would happen is this fruit gets more and more ripe, more and more mature. It gets to the point where it's beyond ripe. It turns to mush, drops off the plant. Seeds are released into the soil, and that's how, well, we get our volunteers each year, don't we? So in the past I have left them until they're really quite mushy on the plant. But I think I will have this one today. It's had long enough, so it doesn't look terribly appetising, does it? It's definitely not one that I would be wanting to eat. But the seeds it contains will be good and mature, and like I say, it's come from a good, strong plant that's been really productive and healthy all summer. So that's my cuke. Now, while I'm down here with the orange bell peppers, I think I need to bring you in a little bit closer. Now with the peppers, I have a slightly different tack. It's not so much that I'm selecting one specifically for seed saving. One pepper probably would contain, gosh, it's so bright, it probably would contain enough seeds for me to do with the following year. But I like to have more than I need. Firstly, just in case something goes wrong with my first sowing, I've got some backup seeds. But also because I really like to give my seeds away. So with the orange bell, like all the peppers, I tend to, oh, isn't that a beauty? I actually cannot see the thing in the screen this morning. Yeah, I tend to save from pretty much all of them. Well, at least at this stage, as I'm getting my first few gorgeous big uns off. Beauties, beauties, beauties. So, yeah, like I said, oh, a couple of them have been attacked. Oh, that looks like wood lice. Yeah, they've come to a good size. They've had no attack. They look really healthy. So these two at least, and then probably in the coming weeks, well, almost certainly, as the rest start ripening, I'll have 2 or 3 more off and save their seeds. So where's next? I've got a tomato I want to have a look at. This wee tomato in the end of what was my new potato bed. Good morning, poppykins. It's completely random. I didn't plant it. It's a volunteer. If you remember, last year I had something of a disaster initially with my tomatoes, and then eventually my tomatoes came good, thank goodness. But I had a load given to me, quite a few from Catherine, who's the one with the big brassica tent. Now, most of them I didn't know what they were. I was thinking about seed saving, and then as quite a few of you pointed out, a lot of the varieties seem to be F1s, where I did know the variety, so I didn't do any seed saving from those gifted tomatoes. But this one has done perfectly well on its own, and as you can see, it's got tons of foliage. I haven't even trimmed out the foliage. It's not got any blight on it. It's kind of dying back a bit now, but these have been really, really lovely little tomatoes from it. So I'm definitely going to save some seed from this. There's a couple of reasons. One, I really enjoyed it last year, and I've been enjoying it this year. So, oh, who's hissing and fighting? Oh, it's because Rusty's turned up to annoy Poppy. Yeah, I like them. They taste great. And I'm always happy to have another couple of little cherries in the mix. But my sort of, one of my main rationales for saving seed from this one is it's obviously a tenacious little bit of genetics going on. Without me touching it, without me doing anything, it's grown all on its own. It's been chucking out fruit. Oh, loads and loads of fruit for the last few weeks. There's no blight on it, amazingly. So it just suggests to me that this is some good genes in this little tomato. So why not save them and reproduce them next year? You watch next year now. I'll do all the tending and care, and they won't grow a bit. But yeah, it's another of those things. It's worth kind of noting that if and where you have, I can't get to that. It's kind of in a mesh of, I really want it. You know, and you can't get one. It was completely enmeshed in the climbing beans. Yeah, if you've got volunteer plants growing in your garden, it's well worth thinking about saving a seed from them, because they obviously really, really want to grow. Okay, what else do we need today? Oh, one of the Dulong de Londe peppers. I love how beautifully they glow in here amongst the foliage. So that one's ready. Oh, how to get in that one. Let's have this one as well. Beautiful. So, as I was saying, or I should say, just like I was saying with the orange bell peppers, all I care about in terms of seed saving is I've got these beautiful, gorgeous fruits. All the plants have been healthy and strong. So I will literally just take seed every time I harvest any of them. Look at that colour. Gorgeous. Any more for any more? Oh, no, that's still got a bit of green. Okay, so that's my little, bundle basket for seed saving, including, way down here, the little
orange ones with no name.
That's better in the slight shade of the shed. Oh my goodness, it's so bright out there. I couldn't see a thing. So yeah, cuke, my orange tomatoes. I've got a couple of my gardener's delights at home. Some orange bell peppers and some Dulong Dulong. I just had a quick look at the paprika peppers. Oh, they're almost there. I reckon another week or so. So let's get all of these home and let's get seed saving. Right, well I'm back at home now, so let's get on with some seed saving. I have to say, I really didn't want to leave the plot. What a beautiful day. These days are so gorgeous, I just want to make the most of them. I want to sort of almost, I did earlier, lie in the grass and just look at the blue sky and try, excuse me, try to imprint it on my brain somehow, so that during the winter when it's grey and dark, I can close my eyes and just remember these beautiful blue skies of what feels like summer still. Anyway, like I said, I didn't want to come home, but I've got loads to do this evening. It's kind of late in the afternoon now, so let's get on with this seed saving, and then I will get on with podding some more tomatoes, little bits and bobs. So let me show you a bit more closely. Okay, so I've got my couple of peppers here, my little orange cherries, and I've got a whole, oh look at the colour, isn't that gorgeous? That's my gardener's delight, and a cuke there. I'm going to start with the peppers because they're the least messy. Give myself a couple of plates ready. So with the bell peppers, all I do, now obviously this is all about seed saving, but this is food as well. So once I finish doing all this with my seed saving, this will all get chopped up and it'll either go in the freezer or I'll use it for cooking this evening. So this is a familiar sight to us all, isn't it? The inside of a pepper. And all I do is cut around the outside where the little sort of the white ribs are hanging onto the flesh of the pepper, and then pull out this cone. And that, my friends, that's my lovely seeds. And all I do, quite simply, just stand it on this dish. Oh, there's a few more in there that I've missed. Come on, out you come. So, like I say, over the course of the next few days, as I'm harvesting and cooking with them, or harvesting and putting them in the freezer, I just leave all of these little cones of seeds on the plate. That'll now go in my south-facing front window. Oh, I'm going to sneeze, hang on. Chew. Oh, another one. No. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I've still got the remnants. That cold, how annoying. Yeah, in the south-facing window, and they will dry nicely there. And once they are dry, deal with that one later. Once they are dry, literally all I do is just rub them off the stalky bit, and they come off really easily. With the Dulong Dulong, similar. Just chop up the head and tail, save that, that's going to go in the cooking as well. And then, quite simply, run the knife down the whole length of the pepper, and it reveals its gorgeous seeds. It's a little bit more fiddly than with the bell peppers, but it's exactly the same principle. Trying to do this so you can see it but not cut myself at the same time. So out comes the little stalk, again with all its lovely seeds. Now you can see the stalks with the seeds on are so very, very different from each other. I won't need to label these seeds, as in while they're drying, because I know these long skinny ones with the darker orange bit of flesh that they're clinging to, I know that that's my Dulong Dulong, as opposed to the more cone-shaped seeds on a much paler bit of flesh. Out you come, Out you come. So if you think about it, the very first packet of seeds I bought of these Dulong cost me, the organic seed always costs a bit more, but it cost about £2.50 for that very first packet of seeds. And in that first packet of seeds, I had half, if not a third, of what's on this plate. So you could argue that that's £7.50 worth of seeds. Yay! You know, it's not about that being £7.50, it's all about being as self-sufficient as possible. And one of the best ways you can do that is to save your own seeds. Obviously this is now going to get chopped up and dealt with. I'm not sure what I want to eat tonight in terms of cooking. Once I've decided, I'll either use those peppers, or let's just pop these out of the way for a minute, or I'll just chop them and freeze them. Yeah, like I'm saying, in terms of being self-sufficient, one of the best things you can do for yourself is save seeds. Not only because you're saving money, you're not relying on someone else's seeds the following year. You know, what if all the seed companies have a terrible year? What if there's no seed anywhere in the whole world? But when you save your own, you're kind of giving yourself as much of a guarantee as it's possible to give yourself with seeds. And of course, they'll be acclimatised to your garden, to your soil, to your conditions. Right, on with the cucumber. So for the cucumber, it's exactly the same. That's why I left it to the end, because it's going to be more messy. This is exactly the same process as I used for my tomatoes. I use the fermentation method. Oh, it does smell lovely. You can smell though that it's past its best. It has got a slightly, how to describe it? The sweetness has gone out of the smell. So now, just with a spoon and a jar handy, scrape, it really is messy, scrape those seeds out with their juices. Scrape, squirting everywhere. Did you get squirted? There's more in this side. And likewise, I mean, how much does a packet of cucumber seeds cost? When you think how many seeds, whoa! They're going everywhere. You might find it easier to do the initial scrape into a bowl and then get them into the glass jar. Now, for those of you who haven't saved before and who don't know about the fermentation method, just a quick recap, and then I'm going to link that other video because I think I do a better or a more at-length explanation. First of all, let's gather up any of these seeds that have tried to escape. And you'll see, even as you're doing this, you'll see some of the seeds coming out are really quite fat and plump. Others are quite skinny and flat. And obviously it makes sense, once you've got them clean and dried, that you want to save the nice big plump ones. So here they all are, sitting in their frothy juice. And quite simply, all I should do is, for the next 3 to 4 days, let them sit in that, and they will start to ferment. And what's happening is that gelatinous coating that they're all in, my least liked word in the world, gelatinous, that will start to break down, and you'll end up with a really horrible, scuzzy, mouldy, sort of crusty foam on the top. In 3 or 4 days' time, when that's happened, you will hoik out most of that yucky stuff on the top, give them all a rinse and let them dry. And it just helps to break that coating down, which is, it's nature's way of stopping them from germinating too quickly. In nature, this process would happen by the overly ripe fruits falling onto the ground, coming into contact with the soil, and over time, you know, microorganisms in the air and in the soil will start to break that coating down, and when they're ready, they'll germinate. If we dry them like this, they can still germinate, they do, but this way you just end up with cleaner seeds, which hopefully should germinate more quickly with no problems. Now, it's in a glass jar. I can see therefore what's going on. I want to be able to see what's going on in there. I don't want to put a lid on because I want all of the good stuff in the air to get down there too. But I'm just going to put a little cover on to keep the fruit flies out, because this is going to attract, oh sorry, there you are, this is going to attract the fruit flies. So all this is, it's a little bit of cotton lace with some glass beads laced onto the edge just to hold it down. Set that aside in, well, everywhere is warm at the moment, the flat is fairly warm. I don't have any heating on, of course, not yet. But set it somewhere warm, but not in sort of the glare of full sunshine. Generally what I do is I just set them aside down on the end of the counter in the kitchen. I think, actually looking at that, there's a load more seeds in there, but what I'll do, when I've turned you all lovely people off, I'm going to get a big bowl and have a really, really good scrudge out of them in there. Yay! So tomatoes, it's the same method, it's the fermentation method. So top of the tomato, bottom of the tomato, I like to make my cut around its middle. I just find it's easier to get more seeds out that way. And then all you're doing, look, that's next year's life. Isn't it wonderful? This, you know, it's at moments like this when we're saving our seeds. I know we all have it in the spring when we plant them, but it's at a moment like this when we should just really savour the moment and think about the miracle that is the potential of these little tiny seeds. Oh, just amazing. So all I'm going to do, squeezy, squeezy, squeezy. If, like with these, they're not a particularly juicy tomato. Oh, let me just wash my hands in the water. They're not a particularly juicy tomato. They're very fleshy, they're very solid. So if having squeezed them all out, if there's really, really very little liquid in there, you could just add a little tiny bit of water to help the process. If you're doing it with a tomato that's considerably more wet, you won't need to. So yeah, let's get a load going in here. And it really is quite a grotty thing in a few days' time when you come back to them. But goodness me, isn't it worth it? For instance, I don't know, especially if the garden is your first garden this year, you won't have had a chance to save seeds yet. But just think about how much money you spent this year on seeds, especially if you're like me, you're organic, which means of course you're using organic seed too, which does tend to be more expensive. Maybe have a little tot up of how much you spent this year, so that as we go into next year and you're using your own saved seeds, you can have a little think about, or just a little reckoning of how much you spend next year on less seed, and then you can feel that smug joy of just how much money you've saved. Lovely. Now obviously I've got the orange ones to do too, so I must remember to label this. This is Gardener's Delight, because okay, the flesh is definitely more orange, but in a few days, once they're all grotty, they'll probably look quite similar. So a label for this one and a cover. Get my spoon back in that. I'm sure there's loads and loads. Oh yes, there are. Let me just show you that. Look, underneath all of that, can you see? Tons and tons in there. Yay, good stuff. So there we have it. A few more seeds saved for next year. And honestly, oh, let's get comfy. You know, it couldn't be more easy, could it? When you see how easy it is, you think, why am I paying for this stuff? And the lovely thing is, I will certainly have more seed than I need, which is great. I'll have seed for my immediate needs. I'll have a little bit of seed as backup. But the fantastic thing is, I'll have enough seed to give away. It's one of the joys, isn't it? We were talking about it, I think, on one of the Facebook pages, I can't remember now, but about how lovely it is to be able to give away our produce. And of course, in the last few years, I'm not able to give away quite as much because I'm relying on it. And I feel a bit bad about that. But at least I can give away seedlings in the late spring, early summer, when I can see that I've got excess seedlings, and I can definitely give seeds away, which is wonderful. And of course I can do seed swaps. There's almost certainly going to be someone out there who's got a seed I would really like. Yes, sorry, I'm thinking aloud. But yes, there's almost certainly going to be someone who's got a seed that I would like, and maybe one of my seeds would suit them, so we can do a little swap seeds. Swap seeds. Brilliant, love it. It's what makes the world go around, isn't it? All right, my lovely, gorgeous people, it's time for me to tidy this lot up. I've harvested a load more stuff this morning. I think my last harvest of coco de Paimpol, I'm not sure. So I've got some podding to do, I've got some more tomatoes to get into the freezer. I need to think about what I'm going to eat tonight. Am I going to make the most of these peppers while they're fresh? Or do I need to get those chopped up and in the freezer too? We'll see. I will see you all again really soon. But in the meantime, please look after yourselves and each other. Have a wonderful, wonderful, towards the end of harvest, whatever it is that you're still picking. And keep earmarking things for seed saving. Cheerio.